Hello, this is Dirk deJong from Boris FX, and I'm here in Avid Media Composer to spend a few minutes introducing BCC AVX version 8.2, which is a new update to our native plugin package for Avid Media Composer and Symphony. Probably the most significant change we've made in the 8.2 update for Avid is that we are now offering many more green dot effects, meaning many more effects that are capable of real-time preview. As a result, there are some changes to how the effects appear in the Avid effects palette, which we'll be looking at in more detail in just a minute. But I first wanted to show a short sequence of effects I've strung together to show some of the new green dot effects previewing in real time. These are all unrendered effects, and in most cases stacks of multiple simultaneous unrendered effects. So let's take a look at that sequence now. Okay, so that was the sequence here, and you can kind of see that we have a few effect stacks here. Here we have a BCC composite, or a film glow, and then a light rays on top of that, and a BCC composite, and that's using the beat reactor. Beat reactor, there's obvious benefits to being able to preview that in real time. If I, just to show you how this stack is built a little bit, if I turn off the composite and the light rays, and I go down into the film glow, and I say to show the audio graph, if I preview this here, you see how it's going. And what you do with Beat Reactor here is you adjust these little rectangles which show the area of the audio that you're sampling, and you can immediately see the effect of your changes without having to render the effect in the case of a green dot effect, which is obviously quite useful. What else do we have here? This sequence, here we have a linear luma key. The DVE basic is what kind of flies this picture-in-picture in, and with motion blur and all that, and then this jitter is what kind of makes it jerk around side to side. So you end up with this, you can see the motion blur there. And if I'm out of effects mode, I should get the real-time preview. There's a couple more of those. This one is a nice effects stack. You've got Chroma key, color correction, light wrap, and multi-stripe wipe. So that's the key. The color correction to kind of change the contrast and the hue a little bit to make her better match the background. Light wrap is kind of an edge refinement for the key. If you know what that does, it takes some of the background layer and kind of wraps it around the edge of the key to make it look like incidental lighting there. And then there's this multi-stripe wipe as well. And so all that is able to preview in real time, which is really, really nice to have. Excuse me. Here we have 3D objects and light rays and a drop shadow. One feature we added in here, you might notice that the edges of the 3D text look a little jaggy. Here in the render group, we put this thing called follow Avid draft quality. So even though the edge quality is set pretty high, what it's going to do is follow this. So when this is draft, as it's currently set to, then the edge quality is draft. But if I bump up this quality, you see how the edges sharpen right up. So that enables the 3D objects to often have the performance needed, to give you a decent real-time preview. This is just a lens blur transition. This is a little stack that I have here. So this is a swish pan One great thing, obviously, with having green dot transitions is that you can preview them unrendered, in trim mode, and then, adjust the timing of it and see that change right away without having to re-render the effect. And in this case, so we have the swish pan, and then this this little stack up above it. What I added was a film glow. See that? And a wave effect. So if I bypass those, and that's just sort of adding something to my swish pan. This one is BCC pan and zoom with a colorize and a film glow on top of it. And so if I go in here and take off the glow, the colorize, this is the pan and zoom. If I go into preview mode so you can see what it's doing, it's basically just pulling up and to the left and kind of zooming out to create this animation. Obviously useful to be able to preview something like that in real time. And this one uses an optical stabilizer and then a Luma key. I think I just added the Luma key so there would be yet another real-time stream to show. It's not really footage made for keying, so let me just disable that. If I bypass the stabilizer, you see that it kind of had a little distracting shake there. But if I did optical stabilizer and just set it to smooth, kind of improves that shot a bit. So again, previewing in real time. And then finally, this one has, again, using beat reactor. So you have one beat is affecting the brightness there through the color correction filter. Then there's a film damage effect, and then this jitter is like a 3D jitter on this plane. And I think I added a similar effect here. So that's a look at some of the real-time effects as seen here in this sequence. Now I'm going to open the Avid effect palette and go through the BCC categories with some effects animation added to give you an idea of how we've increased the number of green dot effects between version 8.1 and 8.2. So here's BCC 3D objects category. You see how we're able to make all those green dot effects. Art looks, blur and sharpen, color and tone, film style, image restoration, key and blend, lights. Match move stayed the same because those effects all use motion tracker and we're not able to support that with green dot. Here's particles, perspective, all those became green dot, stylize, textures, time, a couple of those, the jitter ones up at top there, transitions. I'm going to skip 2 input effects because we got rid of those, you'll see. Warp, got a lot of those as real time. So the obsolete category became much bigger. All the 2 input effects are in there as well as some other effects. Now one thing I want to explain here, if I go into the, say, the lights category, in the past when we had the green dot effects in BCC 8.1 we would say the name of the effect and then put the letters RT at the end to indicate real time. Now, since a significant majority of effects are actually green dot effects now, what we did is we got rid of the RT at the end of the effect name, and if there are 2 versions of an effect, one that's green dot and one that's blue dot, they'll show up like this. So basically, let's say lens flare 3D, green dot effect here, and then there's one that'll say BCC lens flare 3D MT, and that MT in this case stands for motion tracker. because the the BCC integrated motion tracker is a feature that we're not able to support in a green dot effect. Also, the way the motion tracker works, it needs to analyze one frame after another. You need to get it to play every frame consecutively. And in green dot mode, it doesn't do that. It'll sometimes drop frames and stuff like that. So the naming has changed a little bit. Another thing that will happen is in this obsolete category, you'll notice that we put the letters OBS at the end just to indicate that it is an obsolete effect. So in some cases, you might open an old sequence that has existing BCC effects in there, and you'll see that it's shown up as OBS there. And what that'll basically mean, why would an effect be obsolete? There are a few possible reasons. Maybe now there's a green dot version with all the same functionality. Maybe it was from the 2-input category, which no longer offers any unique functionality. Or maybe it's just an effect that has been superseded by an improved version, but is being included for compatibility with older sequences. So that's an introduction to the BCC AVX 8.2 update for Avid Media Composer, and if you haven't already, I encourage you to download the update and install it. If you already have a previous version of BCC AVX installed, you must first uninstall the previous version. Licensing on already licensed systems will be preserved, and the original serial number is not required in order to run the update. So take a look at BCC AVX 8.2 with lots of new green dot effects.